Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Brandon, and today we are obviously in my apartment today, not in my car. We're not going to be doing any shopping. I will have another shopping video probably very soon, though, probably like tomorrow's video or the day after. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about 10 mistakes that new shoppers made. Now, these are not mistakes that everybody makes, but they are pretty common mistakes that I have seen or that I've done when I was a new shopper. And they're also mistakes that I think that a lot of new shoppers do just because they're new shoppers, they're inexperienced. Everybody is a new shopper when they first begin. There's no way of not being a new shopper. All of these are just small little mistakes, but they can make a very big difference. So if you try to make less of these mistakes, and overall you'll get better tips, you'll get better ratings, you'll make the customer more happy, and overall you'll just have a better shopping, better Instacart experience. These 10 mistakes, I just want to say, they are not in any particular order. I didn't make number one like the best one or the biggest mistake. I didn't put them in any kind of order. But yeah, guys, number one is going to be not organizing your orders when you're shopping. Now, this is something I can first off say I did this my very first order and I never did it again because of how confusing it was, how annoying it was when I got to checkout and I was just sitting there trying to organize things, looking at my app, trying to pick out what items were for what order. And I made the mistake as my first Instacart shop that I did. It was for 2 or 3 people, and I literally just piled everything in the cart, and I was like, I'll just throw everything in the cart and I'll organize it when I get to checkout. It'll be easier that way. Well, I got to checkout. There was people behind me. I took probably, I'm not joking, I probably took at least 20 minutes to check out because I had to go back into my orders or look at my orders at the checkout screen and try and figure out where the item was in the cart. There's probably 40 or 50 items. I think the order might have been like 43 items from what I remember. I want to say it was 2 or 3 customers at least. And I had to just everything in the cart, literally everything just piled together. And I had to try and find items from the bottom of the cart to put them for A. And then I went on to B, and obviously C was pretty easy. Once I got A and B up on the belt, I knew everything else was for C. But this was one of the biggest mistakes that I made from the get-go, from the start. It was literally my first big order on Instacart. You can even bring boxes if you want to. I've brought a box before or a basket and put it into my cart so that way I could help separate items. So I would definitely recommend using baskets, or you could get a piece of cardboard to help separate the orders. Or what I like to do now that I've been doing Instacart for a long time is I use a big item to kind of separate the orders. So you can do that with a couple gallons of milk. If somebody ordered milk and one person didn't, you can put that right in the middle of the cart to kind of help separate it. And that way, from the milk over is one customer, and then on the other side of the milk is the other customer. Or you can use a watermelon or a big package of meat, something like that, to kind of help divide the orders. That's what I do, at least, and it's helped me definitely organize orders a lot better, easier, and make things way less confusing. Okay, guys, so the number 2 mistake, taking every order that comes up. Taking every order is not a good thing. It is good to not be picky because there are times, I will admit, that I am a little too picky when it comes to orders, and sometimes I'll sit there for an hour, and that's kind of my consequence for being too picky. I'll see an order, that's $20, maybe 10 items and 10 miles, and I won't do it because of the 10 miles. Even though it's only 10 items, it'll be very quick to shop and check out. But because I see that 10 items or that 10 miles, I'm like, no, I don't want to drive that far. And I end up being too picky. Guys, there is a difference between being too picky and just picking out crazy Instacart orders. A lot of new shoppers, they'll just take whatever orders they can get, which is sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's non-profitable. It doesn't make sense to do as far as your time, your gas, your wear on your vehicle. It does not make sense to do some of these orders. In my area, there are a lot of new shoppers, and a lot of those new shoppers don't really know what kind of orders to look for. So they'll take whatever orders they see. If they see an order that's 35 miles for $30 and it's 40 items, they'll take it just because they see the $30. Wow, $30, that's a lot for one order, because they might be used to DoorDash or Uber Eats where they only get orders for $7 or $8. Maybe sometimes they'll get a $30 order, but it's pretty rare. Well, on Instacart, $30 orders, $40 orders, those are pretty common, at least in my area and a lot of other zones and markets. So new shoppers will see that $30 order and be like, wow, do it. Like, that's awesome. And then us veteran shoppers, or even shoppers that have been shopping for 6 months, a year, know that a $30 order for 30 miles is not good. You should not be taking that order. For all the new Instacart shoppers, please look at other people's Instacart videos, or ask other people, like, what do you consider a good order? Because doing orders that are $10, 27 miles for, 20 items, 30 items, whatever it is not good. Doing orders that are $60 for, 60 miles and 50 items, that's still not a good order. Even though it's $60, you're still having to drive 60 miles to deliver it, 60 miles back, and it's a lot of time, a lot on your vehicle. You could be doing a couple other smaller $20 orders to make that $60. Hey everybody, so it's actually been a couple days since I last recorded, and I want to finish off this video. We're actually in my car now because I ended up having some stuff I had to do. I couldn't finish the video in my apartment, and now I'm headed back home. I was working today, and now I'm done for the day, and I was like, well, I gotta record the rest of the video. So that's what we're doing now. We are on to, I think, the third mistake is number 3. Number 3 is being rude or ungrateful for the customers. Now, the reason why this is a big deal is because if there are new Instacart customers, or even ones that have been ordering for years, and say they order and you're rude to them, then that makes them not want to order again, or that makes them not want to have you as a shopper again. So they'll give you a bad rating, and you probably won't get them as a shopper for a long time, or maybe even ever again. So it is very important to not be rude to your customer, but it is a very big deal to not be rude or ungrateful or anything like that to your customer. You want to obviously be friendly and tell your customer, thank you for using Instacart. I appreciate your tip, or I appreciate you. You want to make the customer feel good, obviously, because they're using a service, they're paying fees, they're tipping you. There's a lot that goes into Instacart, and if you're rude, the customer isn't going to want that experience again. And all right, guys, so the 4th mistake that new Instacart shoppers make is inefficient shopping. Now, inefficient shopping, there could be a number of things that you're doing wrong as far as shopping goes. One example would be doing the produce and then going across the store to do dairy, and then going back across the store to do the rest of produce, or going towards the back of the store to get dog food and then going all the way back to produce. Obviously, you don't want to do a bunch of backtracking. You don't want to go back and forth across the store a bunch of times, because that not only wastes your time, it also wastes the customer's time. It also makes your shopping speed go up and gives you, bad ratings if you take too long. You want your shopping speed to be pretty low, anywhere between, I would say, 30 and 60 is probably pretty good. But yeah, overall, you want to make sure that you're shopping right. You have like a routine of the way that you shop orders, and you want to get comfortable, and you want to get used to the stores, so that way you're shopping efficiently. You want to be able to do more orders and not take too long. Okay, guys, so the number 5 mistake that new Instacart shoppers make is taking no tip orders. Now, this is a very big deal, and if I were to put any of these mistakes in order, I would put this at least number 3, maybe number 2, because this is a very big deal. If you are taking no tip orders, that is just telling the customer that's ordering, hey, it's okay to not tip. We're going to do your order anyways. When in fact, you should be only taking orders that where somebody tipped. Because if you're showing the customer like, hey, I'll do your order if you don't tip, then that's just going to basically tell the customer that they don't have to tip and they can still get their order. You do still get paid by Instacart, but you are delivering a service. It's not a donation kind of thing. You should be tipping your Instacart driver, and I could babble on about this for an hour, but in the end, you should be tipping your customer no matter what. It is a delivery service, just like you would tip your pizza driver. There are some customers that just don't believe in tipping, or for whatever reason they don't tip. Maybe they think that we get paid hourly, or we get paid a lot, but the truth is Instacart does not pay very good at all. Like half of my income or more comes from tips. basically, to sum it up, you don't want to take no tip orders. We don't want to have a bunch of customers not tipping, because then we're just going to get a bunch of bad orders. So it is very important to tip your driver. Obviously, it's a service and we're going and grocery shopping for you, and you know, it's the nice thing to do, at least to tip, you know, $5 or $10. Thank you for all the people that do tip really good. Thank you so much. And if you guys are never sure how much you should tip, I think a good rule of thumb is if your order is $50 or less, I think a 10% tip is usually pretty good. And then if your order is $50 or more, usually a 20% tip is pretty good. Or, you know, 15, somewhere around there. And number 6 is going to be picking out frozen items first. Now, this one is kind of common sense. You should not pick out frozen items first. And this was something that I did, not every single order that I used to do, but I used to do it sometimes, just because when you go into either Safeway or Food Max in my area, the frozen items are right at the front of the store. So it's a very easy and accessible, I guess you could say, to grab the frozen items really quick and easy, because they're right there when you get in the front of the store. But it is not good in the end to grab the frozen items, because if you do have a lot of items, you're walking around the store with the frozen items already picked out, and the frozen items are slowly just melting away because you picked out the frozen items first, and now you've been walking around for, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and all those frozen items have started melting. So especially ice cream. Ice cream is obviously one of the worst to grab because it's ice cream. You know, ice cream melts pretty fast. Grabbing frozen stuff and then it unthawing and then going back into a freezer is not good, and it's not sanitary or healthy. It can actually get you sick, because you're taking a frozen item, you're basically heating it up because it's becoming unfrozen, and then you're freezing it again when the customer gets it and puts it in their fridge. So it's obviously not a good thing to do, and that's one of the mistakes that new shoppers make. All right, guys, so the 7th mistake that new shoppers make is delivering to the wrong address. Now, this can happen even if you're like a veteran shopper and stuff, but it is probably more likely to happen if you are a new shopper, just because you're so new and you're confused, and you know, you're new to delivering to houses and looking at addresses. If you've never done gig work before, or delivery services and stuff like that before, it's something that you're still getting used to. So you really want to pay attention to your deliveries and what house you're delivering to, and especially with apartments, because there are apartments that can be very confusing. In my area, there are some apartments that have multiple buildings, and the buildings all have their own address, or they have their own letter. So you could be delivering to apartment 12, and the building could say C or D, but you have to deliver to E12, and you accidentally deliver to C12 or D12. So these are things that can happen when you're delivering, and you want to really make sure that you pay attention and you look at the address and just kind of double check the address on your phone and make sure you're delivering to the right person, because obviously you don't want to deliver to like somebody's neighbor and them have to like go get their food from their neighbor, and you know, that's just awkward for them too, and they can be frustrating because they have to go, you know, go get their food from their neighbor now. Okay, guys, so this is another big mistake that people who are new Instacart shoppers make, and that is not taking pictures of deliveries. This is going to be number 7, I believe. Not taking pictures of deliveries is kind of a big deal. In my area, I don't think we have that many people that say that their order wasn't delivered, but it's very important that you take pictures of the deliveries, because there could be some people in your guys' area that order food, and then once it's delivered, if you don't take a picture, they can call Instacart and report it that it was either stolen or it was not delivered. And because you didn't take the picture, if it was like a left at door, because you didn't take a picture of it, they can say whatever they want, and you have no proof that you delivered the order. So if you have a leave at door and you go to take the picture and you actually do take a picture of everything, Instacart can see the picture that you took, and they can see that you dropped it off to them, and then they can kind of back you up and be like, well, it looks like your shopper dropped off your stuff and we can see a picture of it, and obviously they will know that you're telling the truth. So it's always important to make sure that you take a picture when the order is a leave at door. If it's a meet at customer, then obviously you just meet the customer, or you drop it off, you ring the bell, knock, whatever, and you make sure that the customer gets it. But when it's a leave at door, you just leave it at the door, but you have to make sure that you take a picture, guys. It's very important. It's really unfortunate that there are customers out there that try to get free food and stuff. You know, it's not right. It is stealing. It's stealing from the store. It's stealing from Instacart. Like, everybody loses out on it. You get in trouble as a shopper if that happens, and it's just unfortunate that people do that. They shouldn't be obviously doing that. Like I said, it is stealing, but you know, it does happen. So it hasn't happened to me on Instacart, knock on wood, but you never know. One day maybe it will, but that's why I always take a picture of my delivery when it's a leave at door. All right, guys, so the 9th mistake that new Instacart shoppers make is not paying attention to the delivery instructions. Now, this is very important because somebody could have two houses. For example, they have a main house and then they have a guest house. Well, the customer that ordered the food could live in the guest house, and they probably will leave a note saying, do not deliver to the main house, deliver to the guest house. And I actually have a lot of customers that do that. Or they say, you know, drop the order off in front of the garage, or drop it off at this place because it's most convenient for them, or it's easier, or, you know, maybe they have dogs and stuff. So it is very important to read the delivery instructions, because the customer might want it inside their garage and they have their garage open, or, you know, they might want it at the garage because they have a fridge inside their garage where you can put the groceries in. It's still important to read the instructions, especially if it's like for a delivery that's out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of people will be nice enough to give you instructions, and sometimes the maps isn't always right, and sometimes the instructions really do help. Okay, guys, so this 10th mistake, this is the last mistake we have that new Instacart shoppers make, or even old Instacart shoppers make. I try my best to, like 99%, I try literally almost 100% of the time to make sure I check all the produce and all the expiration dates, especially on produce and especially on like dairy, like milk and eggs. I always check the expiration date, but milk usually goes bad within a couple weeks or maybe a month. And I usually always check milk and produce the most. You could just be grabbing tomatoes and you have no idea, but there's a bunch of mold right at the top of the tomato. Or something that happens really a lot are the containers of like strawberries and blackberries and stuff. People will just grab it, scan it, and put it in the cart when really there's mold all inside of the berries and, you know, around the container and stuff. It happens a lot with those small little containers of like the blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, like everything that comes in a small little container. And even grapes can mold pretty fast too. It's always important to check those. And like peaches get moldy really easily too. And obviously brown bananas, you don't want to get like really old, nasty bananas. Produce, you know, peaches, like I said, are like go moldy really easily. Nectarines as well. All right, guys, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know in the comment section if you guys know of any other mistakes. Maybe I can make another one of these videos. Let me know what mistake you guys think was like the best mistake, or, you know, which one you think is the most important. Yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We are at almost 215 subscribers, which is awesome. We're making our way to 300. So thank you guys for all the support. I really appreciate it. I really love making videos for you guys, obviously. So I will try my best to keep uploading as often as I can. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.